Saturday, March 24th. After a week of making sure that I had all my papers down to a T and stressing myself out so much, freaking out, I was finally ready to go down, start my spring break, and go down to Cardiff to the Doctor Who convention. Nerd! Gotta love it. 4:57 train ride out of Bangor to Cardiff. I call a cab and it takes me there really early in the morning. 10 minutes left till the train came and I had to print off my tickets and so many people line up after me. And I'm like, good thing I got here in time, right? I've used the train system so many times. So I put my card in, enter the reference number and everything. There's a really fast message that pulls up on the screen, like you don't even have time to read it, but it's obviously not working. And everyone behind me is like, you're taking way too long. My train is coming and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I try it again and there's a gentleman behind me who says he caught a quick glance at it and it said that I had the wrong card. My world just crashes down on me. I don't have the card that I used to purchase this because Wells Fargo, even though I called them before my trip and told them I would be here, they decided to cancel my card because they thought I was some strange British man using it to buy, I don't know, kittens or something. My mom used her American Express to buy the tickets. Obviously, I'm in Wales. I don't have my mom's American Express. I call my mom, of course, waking her up, and I just needed someone to tell me it was going to be okay. At this point, I'm crying hysterically because if I miss this train, I'm going to miss the Doctor Who convention. That is not an option. So I call my mom, and she's not really happy with me because I'm crying on the phone half a world away. We decided to have me go on the train and then put on my little sad face. I had my reference number, and I even had my laptop with me. I could pull up and show the ticket information and the reference number and my email confirmation that I had purchased it. Nothing's gonna stop me from getting to the convention in Cardiff. I'm standing on the platform and it was really embarrassing. One of Madison's flatmates, Kath, and her boyfriend at the time, Danny, were there. Danny's like this really tough ass guy and I love Kath, but I'm like a mess. Crying American. That's me. And they were like, it's gonna be okay, just come on the train with us. So I get on the train, I stop crying, I'm wiping the tears away, and I put on an episode of Doctor Who. I put all my stuff on this side because I've got a big ass suitcase with me because I'm going around the world after this trip. Around the world. 3 places. I did just pull it up and I showed him all this stuff and I was like, please, please, please. All he said was, once you get into Cardiff, just print off your tickets and don't let this happen again. Thank the Lord. So I get into Cardiff and I get off the train. My first step is to find an ATM because I had no cash on me. Cardiff's a really large city, so there's gonna be ATMs everywhere. I asked the lady at the front desk, like, where's the nearest ATM? She's like, oh, it's just outside. So I go outside and I use my card and it's not working at all. I go to the ATM next to it, not working. I was like, okay, maybe my bank still has my card canceled. So I go into the cafe, I called them, and they said everything was fine. I was kind of just making small talk with the guy who took my cappuccino order about what I should do, and he was like, oh, I don't know why you think that's gonna work here. If you don't have the chip and pin like they do in the UK, it's not gonna work. I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? And the guy's like, well, maybe if you just find a bank. So I get directions to a bank, and I'm walking there. My plan originally was to get money out, go straight to my hotel, drop off my luggage, and go out to Cardiff, explore Cardiff Castle, go to a bunch of the Doctor Who filming locations. So that was going to be my day. And the next day was the convention. I'm walking with my giant suitcase down the road. I'm just passing all these ATMs. I'm like, I'm going to try each one I see just to see if it was that machine because I go to school in Bangor and that's in the UK as well. I've never had problems with their ATMs, so I didn't know why it wasn't working here. And my parents at this point are not happy with me. They're like, why? You're such an idiot. Why would you leave the house without any money? I thought money would be easily attainable. Like, there's ATMs everywhere. I've never had a problem in Bangor. Why would I have a problem in Cardiff? I didn't expect this to happen. So I'm still just walking down the road, looking at all these ATMs, trying all of them. None of them are working. So I walked to the bank. It was NatWest. By the way, any travelers out there who ever are in the same predicament and have happened to see this YouTube video, which would mean that this shouldn't happen to them because they should have learned from my lesson, but if it does, go to NatWest. They'll understand you. I talked to the woman and I'm like, hi, I'm obviously not from here. I've got my giant suitcase with me. I don't have a chip and pin in my card, but I need to withdraw money. And she was like, well, try it in the machine. And I was like, well, that's not gonna help. So I tried in the machine, doesn't work. Didn't think it would. Well, can't you just swipe it and withdraw money for me? And she was like, no, we don't do that here. Well, you should go talk to our customer service representative, Wendy. There's not that many people in the bank, like 5 customers, but they're looking at me like, oh, this poor girl. So I go up the stairs, I explained the situation to her, and she was like, well, it didn't work. And I was like, no. And she seemed baffled. No one believed me. They were like, well, it's just got to be your bank at home then. But I've called my bank. I called them at the cafe earlier to make sure my card was working, and they told me it was working. I even purchased something at the cafe with my credit card to make sure it wasn't the plastic that was not working. I was taking all precautions and all measures to make sure that my card was functional. the lady says, okay, well, let's try another machine. So she takes my card, she goes to the machine, she tries it again, it doesn't work. And she just looks at it like, huh. She is really puzzled, and she's like, well, I can't really do anything for you. It's your bank. And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, well, have you got a credit card? Well, we can withdraw from the credit account. Forgot to mention one thing. On my card, I only had like $27. I was just gonna withdraw 10 because I knew that my hotel was very close to the convention center where the Doctor Who convention was going to be. So I was gonna withdraw $10 to $15 from the account. And now that I'm thinking about it now, that's just stupid anyway, because you can't withdraw $10 or £10. But anyway, my plan was to do that. And then so I called my mom and I was like, can you put my money in? And then of course they're angry because now I'm realizing how idiotic this sounds. I'm not this stupid. I was planning on, after my trip to Cardiff, like while I was waiting in the airport, because after Cardiff I went to Birmingham and flew straight out to Amsterdam. That's when I was going to call my parents and be like, hey, I need some money in my account. I went to a different place in the world with no cash on me and very limited funds in my bank account. Not smart. So I called my mom. I was updating her as the day went on about my situation. She's like, well, you're lucky your dad's not talking to you, because if he was, he would be yelling. I deserve to be yelled at this point. I was waiting in the waiting room while Wendy went and checked with her manager to make sure that they could do this for me, this credit card withdrawal. While I was standing there, there's this guy. He was tall. He had a giant beard and like missing teeth. And he just came up to me and he was like, I couldn't help overhearing your problem. And I was like, yeah, I know. It sucks. And he just talked to me for a while, and he was talking to me about the options of cashback, which I had already considered, and a lot of places don't do that. Say, well, you could go to, he wrote down like, this bar, I know they do cashback, and this place, and he's being really helpful. And I was like, thank you so much for all your help. I'm just in town, and I really don't want to miss the convention tomorrow. And he's like, well, what's the convention for? And I said, Doctor Who. And then he went on this whole tangent for 10 minutes about how he was in the 3rd episode of the 1st season with Rose. He was like, yeah, I was in the one where there's ghosts coming out and Charles Dickens. And I was like, oh, The Unquiet Dead. He went on to explain to me, like, I'm the guy on this slab, but they cut that out on the TV version because it was too scary for children. He got out a map, which he gave to me, and he's like, you should go here. This is a Doctor Who filming location. This is where we filmed this episode. It's beautiful. And he just kept going on. As much as I appreciated all of his help, I needed to deal with this problem. Not that what he was saying wasn't cool, but it wasn't really on my mind at that point. Like, I was like, this is awesome, but I can't really do any of this unless I have money. Ugh. And he just did not take the hint after a while, and he just wasn't leaving. He was like, here's my number. He puts it down on this piece of paper, on his business card. It's very hard to read, but this is what he gave me. I remember him also, he kept going on, you gotta see Ironclad. Look out for me in Ironclad, because in Ironclad I've got lines with Brian Cox. It's kind of creeped me out at some point because he was a pretty old guy. It was uncomfortable. He meant well. Wendy comes out and she's like, we can totally do this for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. And then the guy finally goes, okay, well, good luck, take care. And he leaves. I'm back to focusing on getting my money. I go to the front of the line again with my card to have money withdrawn from my credit account. I keep getting these phone calls from my parents. This time it's my dad. Now, my dad, I love him. He's really fun. He's incredibly smart and ambitious, and he's a great dad. But he's not so good as my mom is with timing and when the right time to bring up bad things is. I pick up the phone and my dad, he just goes, are you a fucking idiot? And then he just goes on and on about how irresponsible it was for me to do this, and it was. And in hindsight, I did deserve that talking, just not at that moment, because I'm at the front of the line. At that point, I just break down. Dad, I understand you think I'm an idiot, but Dad, I'm trying to take care of that. If you would just let me do this. I just need the money for the cab, okay? I'm just trying to buy a cab so I can get to... I know I'm irresponsible. Can I just call you back later, please? I'm trying really hard to get this done, and you're just... I know. I'm trying. He just went on and on about how irresponsible and how much of an idiot I was. He was right. So he finally agrees that I can call him back later when I've got this sorted out, when I'm not surrounded by a bunch of people. Tears are coming down my face like a mile a minute. I'm hysterical. So I step away and I'm like composing myself while they're taking care of my stuff. And then I hear people talking behind me still, and I heard an American voice, and I thought that it was kind of strange because, you know, I'm not in America. I turn back and I'm talking to the woman about getting the money out. This guy comes up to me, and he was this big guy with glasses. He puts down 20 pounds and he goes, this is for your cab fee. And I turn around and I was like, really? I was like, yeah, I'm American. Don't worry about it. I understand how hard it is being on your own. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's not great. And I'm like, okay, I've got 20 pounds. And I could not believe my good luck. Like, seriously, that man, I don't even know his name, but he saved my ass that day. I couldn't believe the generosity. It was amazing. Stay tuned for part 2. I cry a lot.